Thank you. My name is Alyn Deane and I work for a company called Arista. You'll probably find that most of you in the room probably have never heard of Arista. So, who are we and what do we do? Okay? I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to tell you what Arista is and what I believe Arista is.
So I need to keep you just close to the mic because you don't have the pack on.
All right, okay. All right, sorry. Apologies. And I'm going to give you then the overview of Arista in Grange Castle, where we're based, and how we've actually approached the whole idea of sustainability. I'm in charge of the corporate social responsibility agenda for Ireland, UK and Holland for Arista. I'm accountable for 6 sites, and where I'm based practically most of the time is Grange Castle, which is just on the outskirts of Dublin. So who is Arista? Arista is the second largest bakery company, frozen bakery company in the world. Probably most of you have heard of us through our, one of our brands called Cuisine de France. You'll probably find the roll that you ate at lunchtime was made by us. We manufacture a whole range of breads, and when you come to the company, that's what they'll tell you. All our staff will tell you, what do you do? We make bread. The word sustainable is never mentioned. I have people on the minimum wage. I have a lot of foreign workers whose English wouldn't be their first language, who have very little English. So they don't understand, or you think they don't understand, what we mean by sustainable production. That's our range of brands. As I say, Cuisine de France is probably the most known in Ireland, but we also have the Coup de Pas, Carl's Cuisine. The company itself in Grange Castle was built in 2008, with probably the most up-to-date plant and equipment at the time. That being said, it was 2008, so it was coming to the end of the Celtic Tiger. So we found that corners were being cut. Things weren't being put in as we thought, or we expected. So cutbacks were all of the rage. Arista globally has grown basically through mergers and acquisitions. It's a team of accountants going around the world buying bakeries that supply McDonald's, essentially, and Subway, Tesco, Lidl, Marks and Spencer's. The companies you saw earlier on the Origin Green footprint. We currently now, this was at the end of 2014, we now have 70 bakeries worldwide. The European footprint, and this doesn't include our logistics of transporting frozen goods across the whole of Europe. We have 27 now bakeries in Europe, of which there's one in Ireland, and as I say, it's Grange Castle, which currently employs about 700 people. And as I say, we make bread. Up to 2013, the business strategy was very much a case of merger and acquisition. We'd buy a company, we'd then change its name to Arista, we'd find ways of sweating the assets, improving things slightly, and that's what we did. There was a huge mindset change in 2013 when we realised we had almost 70 bakeries but no sustainable plan. How were we going to maintain these bakeries into the future? So a number of us were tasked with identifying a way of doing that. So we decided we'd look at it under 5 headings, and we just gave it a title, the Arista Cares. The headings we said we'd look at would be the environmental conservation, supply chain excellence, community engagement, ethical sourcing, and employee appreciation. And probably the last one is probably the biggest mindset change from a senior management perspective, was getting our employee both engaged, empowered, and then showing our appreciation. As I say, we have people with us that are on the minimum wage. Okay? So trying to get those sort of people engaged in your process and empowered to function in a sustainable way was a huge challenge, but a very interesting challenge. And it's really only been occurred since 2013. Just to give you an overview of Grange Castle itself, it's on the outskirts of Dublin, and it's broken into 3 components. The red component is the bakery itself. It's almost 50,000 square meters. It's not your normal concept of a bakery. It's production. It's process engineering. There's nobody kneading the dough. There's no hands-on. It's all done by machines. The green area is our fridge plant, cold store. Again, it's approximately 50,000 square meters, and it runs at -22. We have teams of pickers in there at night operating at -22. Ask them about sustainability. You get a very different answer than asking us. The front piece then you'll see is our offices, which house anything from 200 to 400 people on a rolling interim basis, because this is our headquarters for our European base. The pond out the front used to be just an architectural feature. We've now converted it into our fire retention pond, which we now backflow a lot of our effluent back into, keep it topped up, and we're now looking at rainwater harvesting. Production operates 24/7. The only day we shut is Christmas Day. As I would say, at the moment, 2/3 of our workers are foreign. We have a capacity of 140 to 150,000 cases per week. And if you estimate that there's about 100 pieces of bread or rolls in a box per case, you see the volume that we're trying to produce and the volume we're producing at. Our warehouse capacity runs at -22, and we have 14,000 pallet spaces. And we pick, teams of pickers pick 20,000 cases per night that go onto the freezer trucks that are delivered to the stores across Ireland, across Europe. And that's everybody from your local garage all the way up, as I say, to Tesco or McDonald's. As I say, it's very process driven, very, very process driven. If you walk down our site, you'd probably find 5 people at a time on any line. From our raw material intake, through our blending and mixing tanks, to our moulding and shaping, all the way through cooking, robotic arms to take them off the trays, through our freezers, again into our inspection chambers, which are all automated, into boxes and into the warehouse. So that's the background of the company. And as I say, it was very much a merger and acquisitions driven. So what our challenge was to now make that a sustainable business strategy. And how are we going to do that? And what have we done so far? We were very focused on probably the last 2 pillars up to 2013. Anybody here, you've probably all seen this type of thing. Very process and profit driven. Go in, make the process as optimum as possible, and increase our profits. That's very short term for us. So what we did was, immediately we looked at 2 other pillars. We look at our customer. Are we delivering what our customer wants? Are we mobile enough to deliver it as quickly as they want, or on time and full, and the quality that they want? But also, and probably most important to us now, is our people. Because they are the people who will make the difference. We could put our plant anywhere in the world, but we don't have the same people anywhere in the world. So they're the people we looked at to make the difference and make our business model sustainable. So we built a team. And we went around and asked people. And it's funny when you actually start asking people would they like to get involved, not knowing about, by the way, the amount of work that had to go into it. The number of people say yes. They want to be involved. They're interested in it, even just to find out. So we went across all the factory to find people. Rather than so we wouldn't just be an engineering function or an EHS function, or we just become a sustainability team. Everybody was asked to be involved. Before I get on to that, probably the most important person, let me just go back to that, was senior management. Because without senior management buy-in, we're wasting our time. It was never going to happen. We can all talk about it, we can all think it, but it will never happen without a senior management buy-in. The arguments we had over choosing the words that was going to be a vision. What do we want to be in 2017? What does Arista want to be in 2017? This we didn't know in 2013. Nobody knew what we wanted to be. We all just wanted to make bread. Having got our vision, we said, well, what's our mission? How are we going to do this? Again, sounds great and it looks great on paper. But now we have to actually physically make it happen. And probably the hardest thing of all was to generate a set of values. A set of values that we could start to believe ourselves in and we could start to live by. And we came up with pride. It works for us. Okay? Pride, P being for passion. We want to have a passion for what we do and how we do it. We want to have respect. This is where our people come in. We had a huge transient staff. Over 60% of our staff were agency workers. People didn't stay. With a huge amount of accidents. They didn't want to know. In fact, when I joined first, they had a claims department in the business, just handling claims from accidents. Integrity. Eliminate the blame culture. Stop blaming people for something else and start solving the issues. And then obviously our customers were next on the list. So we said, we're interested in our people. What exactly does that mean? We want to become an employer of choice. What does that mean? Well, we took the three things. We looked at our Vision Zero. We wanted to get our people engaged. And we wanted to have socially and ethically responsible business. That's what we decided we want to do in the 3 years. And then we went down to our customers, we processed, and we did our profit as well. Again, what does it mean? What are you going to do on a daily basis that will make a difference to your company? That will make it go from where it is now to where you want it to be? It's very easy to come up with a lot of projects, change the light bulbs. What we're trying to do is change a culture. A change of people, the way they operate, the way they function, the way they think, the way we do business around here. And that was the challenge we set ourselves. And we're still challenged by that. Because we find that every day is a better and bigger challenge to us. So we started looking at policies and giving leadership to people and giving direction to people. But most of all, we actually asked people, what do you think we should be doing? With a huge amount of workshops. This has the amount of hours that went in to just get this set up. This is before we started the journey. It's 6 months and thousands of hours to get ourselves to this point. Every single section was argued because we didn't want to have it too big, otherwise we wouldn't be able to monitor it. We wouldn't be able to check it. We wouldn't know whether it was working or not. At least this way, we know what we're doing. We can also try and verify it against known standards. And is it working? Just because we say it's working, we think it's working, how do we know? We keep going back and checking. We do an engagement survey at the start, and now we do pulse surveys. Are we getting more people engaged? The more they get engaged, the more they get empowered. The more we ask them, the more they get empowered. And then they start coming up with the suggestions, the initiatives, the ways of working, the strategies, that how they're going to do their job. So now I'm no longer having to push sustainability. I'm now getting people to tell me what they see as sustainable ways of working. Remember, I'm only one person in 700 employees. Now we have people like me dotted around the whole of Arista. But we can't make it happen. All we can do is empower people, our colleagues, to make it happen. Not only did we ask our employees, we asked our customers. You saw earlier on, as I say on the Origin Green slide, McDonald's have a huge sustainability charter. Tesco's have a huge. Marks & Spencer's Plan A. And they, in fairness to them, they kept coming back to us and helping us and encouraging us. They'll come over and they'll give talks to our people. They'll do audits for us. And vice versa, they'll invite us over to them and shows us the way they're working in different plants. And it's a huge encouragement. And I don't go to these things normally. We send part of people who are on our different teams to those things. So they now become aware of what's going on, and they become more challenged themselves, and they bring back the information to their own teams to help feed it back to us. And we see how it works and how people actually function. Then we were still left with our process. Turn off all the lights, change the bit of kit. That also works. But again, we asked our people, what are you prepared to do that will make a difference? It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be a monumental change. It doesn't have to be a paradigm shift. Just what are you going to do on a day-to-day basis that will make a small difference? And then are you willing to stand up every month, or somebody for your team are willing to stand up every month and give us a progress report? That's a 2-minute thing. It's red, amber, green. Green if you're on track. Amber if you see some difficulties on the way. And red if you're not, if you haven't started or some serious issue. That's all it is. The huge area of that being is we're now starting to develop our people. We're starting to train our people. So not only then they become bread makers, they're capable of standing up and maybe delivering a report on what they're doing. So it makes them more willing to say, look, I'm willing to stand over my numbers. So if somebody in my business is willing to stand over their numbers, I'm willing to stand over them. And I'm willing to coach them, and I'm willing to help them deliver what we're all trying to deliver. Ultimately, we're still trying to get back to our sustainability plan. But at least now, we have an alignment across all our factory. As I say, probably the most important thing, possibly the most important asset in Arista, by far, are our people. So now when we actually believed in them, they started to believe in us. So they don't leave anymore. And all the agency workers we used to have now work for us. And we've increased their salaries. We don't have any minimum wage salaries anymore. Because we've told them that as we make more and more savings, and as we become more and more a sustainable business, they will reap the rewards and they will reap the benefits of it. My salary hasn't gone up. None of the senior management salaries have gone up. Because we started with the bottom. The people who make the difference. How do we physically do it on a week-to-week basis? I don't expect you to read this, but this is, anybody who knows, this is a deployment matrix. Okay? And it reads, these are on all our office walls, okay? And you go from this way, you read this, go up, across and down. So I'm going to show you what is in each of these boxes. These are the strategic objectives for the first 5 years. Okay? And that would be Vision Zero, that would be engagement, you saw that earlier on. And then what we're going to do, sorry, let me go back, I missed that, sorry. This is what is each department going to do. What are you going to do in your department? The NPD guys, the engineering guys, the operations guys, the planning guys, the logistics guys, the health and safety guys, the technical guys, the quality guys. What are you going to do to make this a sustainable business? And if we all agree that, yes or no, we don't. So you go back and you revise what you have to do. Because we're all here as a team. And can you deliver it? So when it goes across, how are you going to measure it? That box there is the measurement box. And the bottom one then is, what unit have you come up with? What's the value? What's the score? Can we believe it? Is it verifiable? That's our job. So what have we done to date? Some of the successes we've probably moved along. First of all, we've gone to 100% sustainable palm oil. Again, our MPD, that's their idea. They went off, they researched it, they got the quotations in, and now we use it. That's their job. Well done. They're now empowered to do something else. Look at our flour. Look at our other raw materials. Make sure they're coming from sustainable farms, our olives, our tomatoes, our nuts, our cheese. How sustainable are they? So now they've Now they've got one success under their belt. Where's the next one? The next one is our energy consumption. Well, let's start looking at our fridge plant. Probably 50% of our power usage is our fridge plant. Can we turn it off? Can we turn it down? Again, the guys who managed the fridge plant went off and did a project on it. And they came up with the savings, how they could do that, and how it works. And again, red, amber, green on the far side. Just report what their status is every month. Every month. You see here we have 5 energy saving initiatives. That was earlier on this year. That number now is 73 energy saving initiatives that we are now reviewing to see if they're a viable operation, if they actually work. And if they do, the team who comes up with them will be formed and they will be helped to implement them. Correct teams will be put together and then we'll go and achieve them. We don't always achieve what we set out to do, but at least we're trying something. Our emissions, our compressed air was a huge problem. People didn't care. Why should they care? It's not my problem. Somebody comes up with the idea, we look at our compressed air, go ahead and do it then. Come up with your feasibility, business case it for us. So we gave them all the training in this, we showed them how to do it, and people bought into it. So now, as I said, they're not just bakers, they're now people who have an input and a want to work in the area. And probably the last area we probably found huge engagement was the whole area of social responsibility and sustainability. How's our social? What are we going to do as a company? When we employ 700 people in Clondalkin, okay? But what do we do for the local community? By the way, this wasn't my idea. This is some people from across the factory. So they set up a charity network. And this year we'll give 10,000 to the Laura Ling Foundation for sick children. We've set up support for job seekers in the local community where we give them interview skills and CV writing skills. We've also done a wellness week for our own people. What's your health like? Fitness classes. We've also given them English classes. For those of them who don't have very good English, we put on an English class. We charge them €3 a class. Actually, we don't. We only charge them if they don't show up. It's free. So what have we achieved? 81% reduction in our turnover rate. As I say, our staff don't leave. 70% reduction in absenteeism. People like working in the place now. Nice atmosphere. Much more friendly atmosphere. Everybody says hello. We've almost eliminated the claims department is gone. We don't have a claims department anymore. We just passed 200 days without a lost time accident. When I started, you probably couldn't go 5 days. Again, I'm not taking credit for this, by the way. This is the people behind all these numbers that have delivered this. They themselves have delivered this, and I'm very, very proud of them. We've gone from 160 SKUs, which is units that different types of products we sell, to almost 300. And we've increased our on-time and full rate is now over 99%. And I forgot our engagement score. Bearing in mind it did come off a very low base. People were dying to get out of the place. They're now at a point where they're starting to recommend us to a friend as a good place to work. Our numbers are getting better. As I say, we've really only started the journey on this. We've taken the low-hanging fruit of 250k. But for us, that's a process, that's a new machine that we've saved in the money. We've also, that should read 100 cubic metres of water a month, reduction in its consumption. And as I say, the palm oil. So what do we see as the challenges going forward? Probably maintaining the momentum. We've all got in this together and everybody's there, and then suddenly people leave and people come in and they've never really bought into the process. It's getting those people involved. And we work hugely with that, new staff. We have a buddying system that works. The supervisors, so spreading the whole thing, it's no longer just the floor staff that have to take it, it's now feeding it back up. So we effectively bypassed the supervisor level to do this. Not on purpose, we didn't do anything to do it on purpose, that's just the way it happened. So now we're a lot more organised and standardised. We've achieved an awful lot in a very short period, but we now want to put in smart KPIs around that, so our managers can be actually assessed on that, and not just OEE waste downtime, though you have been in the past. Our behaviours, our ways of working, our processes need to be documented so that everybody knows what they need to do and reproduce that time and time again. And probably the biggest challenge we have as a company is the last one. Is getting the management team to start living the values. It's very easy to fall back into a point where you start blaming somebody when something goes wrong, or you lose respect for them, or you start shouting, well, you couldn't hear me because of the noise. Very easy to do that. What we're trying to do now, that was a case study for us in Rista. We're going to start rolling it out across Europe. We're going to expand the behaviour system to not just ourselves, but also our contractors. We're looking at recording. We have some method of recording from a software based, but other methods for measurement and validation. Be consistent. We're trying to develop what is best practice for ourselves, not just here, America, but we are growing very quickly in the Far East. We want to incorporate any other health and safety, particularly that's my own background. We want to improve the standard of training, not just training, but a development of our people. Empowering them to do it and empowering them to deliver, so I can coach and I can lead and I can guide and I can help. And then install and maintain a reduction plan. Thank you. That's it.